locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source.
Welcome to the Locker Room, the number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Had Damian Pierce on the show earlier this week. You can go listen to that on the app. Also earlier this week, Dalton Schultz, one of the biggest offseason signings, one of the offseason signings with the biggest amount of expectations and really the best recent track record of on-field production. He met with the media types and he was asked straight up, why did you end up in Houston? What do you like about this situation? Here's what Dalton Schultz had to say.
I mean, first and foremost, like just the coaching staff, like you get guys like D'Amico and bringing in a scheme from, like I said, SF, like proven scheme. All those guys from the Shanahan tree are just, offensively in my eyes are really, really good football, like scheme designers. So, I mean, the coaching staff's a big thing. And then, taking a visit, doing the physical part here, having a chance to meet the strength staff, having a chance to meet the nutrition staff, like everybody in the PT room, the return to play guys, like top to bottom, like they've assembled a staff that, I mean, is top notch. So I think, that felt very comfortable, especially when I first came here, of like, feeling that, okay, this is a place that's been set up with people around that are fully committed to helping their players, from anything from recovery, nutrition to strength training. So I think once I found that, they had everybody in place to kind of handle all the non-football, on the field stuff, like, that just made the decision easy for me.
All right, that's Dalton Schultz talking about what he likes here. And he mentioned the coaching staff. I think that's going to be the SF coaching staff. That's going to be the most interesting thing here. I want to see how Bobby Slowick uses these tight ends. I think this is a very potentially very good array of tight ends between Dalton Schultz, Tegan Quintariano, Shrek, Andrew Beck. I don't think I'm ready to buy into Brevin Jordan. I can't buy into Brevin Jordan yet. I know that CJ Stroud's mentioned him. I know he's had some pretty good days at practice. I got to see it first. I got to see it from Brevin Jordan. I don't know how he fits into this thing. Can't stay on the field, healthy scratch at times. So I'm not going to go that far, but I do think between Schultz, Quintariano, and some of the other guys, I do think this could potentially be a very sneaky, productive position, which would be great, especially given the uncertainty at wide receiver and really a lot of skepticism at the wide receiver position. I'll show you some stats just to back up how bad the production has been for the Texans tight ends. And you can really go back to when Dalton Schultz first came into the NFL. He worked out with the Houston Texans. Despite that, the Texans went with Jordan Akins, who I think was 5 years older at the time, 3, 4, 5 years older. Really disappointing as a third round pick. Second time around, best tight end on the team, but the production was really, really bad as a whole. And he cost you that number one pick. Could I interest you in some stats? I always like to ask the question. Here are two stats that I think just show why Dalton Schultz is such an exciting signing for the Houston Texans and why you should probably be excited about your tight ends. This is all Texans tight ends in the last 3 seasons. In the last 3 seasons, all Texans tight ends, every single one who has stepped on the field has combined for 207 catches and 20 touchdowns. 207 and 20. Dalton Schultz in the last 3 years, 207 and 20. Remember that. Dalton Schultz has combined for 198 catches and 17 touchdowns. So 9 less catches and 3 less touchdowns by himself against every single Houston Texans tight end. And if you count his 3 touchdowns in the playoffs last year, then he has as many touchdowns. If you count his receptions, he has more receptions than every Texans tight end in the last 3 years. So they need that production at the tight end position. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Bobby Slowick handles it. I think it's something to keep an eye on. I think there's going to be some creativity in getting these tight ends involved. And I know on paper, you see Dalton Schultz, and then you just see a bunch of guys. Don't sleep on these tight ends. They're going to be really, really good. And Dalton Schultz, we just showed the production. The numbers don't lie. You're getting a guy that's been as productive by himself as every tight end that you've had in the building. Subscribe, like, ride along. It is the Locker Room. Fun times ahead. We're going to get some mandatory stuff moving forward. Then we're going to get a little bit of a break, but there's no breaks here. No matter what happens when it comes to the Texans, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we are all in this together. Appreciate you for coming through.
You know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't